All right, so someone asked me on Patreon to elaborate on my theory about voting in elections. So I just tried to film this video and I was ranting and raving about 10 billion things. So let me try to stick to the subject here. So I believe it's all fake. I don't believe they would risk losing their power. I believe the people who truly control the world are totally hidden. They don't let us elect them. They don't let us choose them. They don't even let us see who they are because they're too smart to be that way. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. If thousands of years ago the leadership was treating the people the way we get treated, and they were accessible, they would get destroyed. They would be attacked, they would be destroyed, because our ancestors were a lot more savage than we are. They were not as opposed to violence as we are. They didn't, they weren't as peaceful, and they had to live in harder ways, living off the land and hunting and killing things on a daily basis. It wasn't such a big deal for them to go up and whack somebody. So, in order for them to get the world into this position where we get very little and we watch them live in the lap of luxury as they lie and cheat and steal right in front of our faces, it took decades, at least maybe centuries, of brainwashing and social engineering to get people to be this peaceful, to where we would accept that type of leadership without just going and getting at them. But here's the other thing. They've also created all these obstacles between them and us. You got the police, you got the Secret Service, you got the FBI, all these agencies protecting them. Now, these people have basically, in my opinion, betrayed us for a paycheck and a pension. Look at what happened with this guy's squirrel, Peanut the squirrel, and Fred the raccoon. Who do you think went and took these animals out of these people's house and then went and euthanized them? Euthanized means put to sleep, killed them. It wasn't Kamala Harris, and it wasn't Joe Biden. It wasn't Nancy Pelosi, and it wasn't Donald Trump. It wasn't Vance. It was people just like you and me who will do whatever they're told, pretty much, because they have a paycheck and a pension being held over their heads. So, they create this, these circumstances where we don't even have a choice in anything, really. But here's the other thing. They need consent. They need your consent. It's called the law of free will. This is a law from the Creator himself, by God himself. I'll say God because that's the word that most people understand. It's the creator of everything. And now, without the law of free will, nothing really could exist, because the law of free will is what allows entities to create, to exist, really. Without the law of free will, there is no separation, there is no separate entities. Everything is one entity, which is the Creator, which is bored off his ass, and he needs, he needs to create a universe, so he's not just sitting there by himself. So, go on my Patreon if you want details. I can't explain it. It's a lot of explaining. But so, really, the law of free will cannot be violated, because without it, nothing would exist. So that's a law from God himself. So they can't do things against your free will. It's against God's will. They will pay a price for that. And the people who control the world know that. And so they put all these systems in place to trick you into giving your consent because then they're not violating your free will. This is my theory. Well, my theory is backed by a lot of information. It's all on Patreon. Anyways, so that's why they're like, they pretend that voting is so important, even though they know the game is rigged and it's all bullshit. They're trying to get your consent. They're trying to get you to give away your free will and accept the corruption and the rigged game. They can say, you voted for it, you're okay with it. So that's one of the reasons I don't vote. I just never voted. I never cared. As I got older and I started to care and I started to fall for their bullshit, so right around when Obama was running was when I started kind of paying attention, because all of a sudden construction, there was like no work, and I'm like, we got to get Bush out of there because he just drove our economy into the ground. I don't understand any of it, but I know one thing: I need a job, and there are no jobs, and Bush has been president for 8 years, so we need change. Just like, the Obama slogan. And here's another thing I find funny. The election before Obama ran, I think it was Bush running against, was it John Kerry? And at the Democratic National Convention, the first speaker they had was Barack Obama. No one ever heard of him. But they made it seem like he was this hotshot politician celebrity who's going to save the world. He's just a little too young to run right now. And they really sold him to us, because back then I didn't really pay much attention to anything, but I was watching that on TV like a typical moron, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, now I got the inside scoop. I got some inside information. He's like the underground Obama. He's a black guy, and he's going to fix everything, and he's this hotshot politician. He looks young, and he's going to be, I was sold on him right off the bat, because I was a young dumbass who didn't know anything. And so 4 years later, when Obama was running, I was like, oh, I've heard of this guy. Yeah. So they almost even tricked me into voting at that point, just because I didn't know my ass from my elbow back then. And but I didn't vote. I didn't care that much. And so, and the other thing was, I was beginning to see through the bullshit also at that point. I was beginning to see, I can't rely on these systems that they have in place. I don't want to be filling out resumes for the rest of my life and going and filling out job applications. It's too much disrespect. It's too much making me feel worthless, making me feel like a dime a dozen. I was like, I was starting to check out already at that point, and starting to try to think of alternative ways to make a living. Here I am, 15, 20 years later, and thank God I figured out those ways. So, my theory is basically, the only reason they want you to vote is to get your consent to continue to rule over you in a corrupt way. So, I wonder what would happen if nobody voted. What would happen then? I mean, what would happen if not a single solitary person voted, except for the two candidates running, which would cancel each other out? What would happen, I wonder? I don't know. I'm talking that would require a lot of loyalty and solidarity between all people of Earth, because at that point, one person could vote and wreck the whole game that we were playing, where nobody was voting. So, I'm sure some idiot would vote, and then some other idiot would vote to cancel him out. Next thing you know, everyone's voting again. It's like, here it is. The real problem is not the government, and it's not the rigged game and the bullshit. It's us. They've got us working against our own best interests to vote and pick these politicians, and and work for the government and kill each other's pets and put each other in jail, and then on another level, they got us lying and cheating and stealing and, hiring each other for shit money. Let me tell you something. When I was younger, a couple of my friends owned businesses, and they would always want me to work for them, and they would pay me as if I was just some illegal immigrant they didn't even know. They would pay me $10 an hour and I would do it because I was dumb back then and I needed work. And then I remember when I was talking about just leaving and going to Vegas, one of my friends, and I'm not trying to, in case he sees this, I'm not trying to talk shit or insult him, but I felt like he was kind of trying to talk me out of it. Like, what are you gonna do? And you can't just go get a job in Vegas and this. In my opinion, he was trying to keep me around in case he needed more cheap labor. Now, these are my friends that I grew up with, hiring, So, it's like, this is, we're doing it to ourselves, is my point. And I've always been a sucker as far as when I would hire people to work for me. When we were doing the sod and I was making a lot of money, we would pay them $10 an hour, but here's the thing. I would pay them extra out of my own pocket because I was never a greedy person and I was making lots of money. Relatively, for me, I was making lots of money. I had thousands of dollars in the bank, so I didn't care. I would pay them extra for the simple fact that I wanted to be nice, number one. Number two, when we needed someone to work, I wanted people lining up to work for us, because every once in a while we'd get a real big job and we would need people to work for us. And I didn't want to be in a position where people were like, well, these cheap motherfuckers barely pay anything. I don't want to work for them. You know what I mean? So when I needed people to work, I'd call them up. They'd be like, for sure, but what day, what time, I'm there. You know what I mean? It was never hard for me. So, I never played by the same rules, really, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm better than everyone else. What it comes down to is I've just never been, I've never been a very, I feel, for me personally, it feels weak for me to put my own self-interest above other people's. I feel like that's a pussy-ass way to be. In my opinion, real strong people are looking out for the people around them. They're not trying to take advantage of them or get anything out of them. They're looking out for them because here's the reality. We're stronger as a team. So these people who are, they're just looking out for themselves. Let's say the entire society collapsed and everyone turned into a bunch of war bands and just a bunch of separate groups of people fighting for power. The people who remember me for being generous and looking out for them would be loyal to me, and I would have a strong crew, and we would wreck any other crew that wasn't as solid as we are, looking out for each other, because it spreads. When you look out for people, they look out for people. They don't want to be the one who's the selfish little weak link. You know what I mean? When I would have people working for me, they would work hard. They'd be working just as hard as I was working. But I was making a lot more money than them. But here's the other thing. When there was real hard shit to do, I would do it. Me and the Cuban would do it. We wouldn't make them do it. We would have them doing the easy shit. We would do the hard shit. You know what I mean? Because we were the ones making most of the money on the job. And that's just how we were. We weren't going to make them do the hard shit. First of all, we wanted it done right. But second of all, it's just, that's a weak-ass way to be. That's how I see it. You know what I mean? So, they've tricked us out of our free will. They've tricked us out of our loyalty. They've tricked us out of our honesty. And they've tricked us out of our honor a lot of times. Now, I'm not trying to come off like I'm better than anyone either. I'm just saying it. This is just the way I see it. Now, I'm trying to think if there were times where I ripped people off or screwed people over for money. Nothing comes to mind, but I'm sure I'm guilty of it at some point. I just can't think of it right now. So I'm not trying to say I'm Jesus Christ and everyone else is a piece of shit. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we've got to stop betraying each other. We got to stop selling each other out, and we got to stop giving away our consent. And look, if you vote for. Don't do it because they're pressuring you or tricking you into it. Do it because you actually want that person as your leader. Then, but do what you want. Look, I'm not trying to trick you out of your free will either. Do what you want. And here's the other thing. I could be wrong about everything. I'm not saying I know everything is this way 100% fact. I put my evidence on Patreon, and I'm always open for debate. Now, I'm not saying I know for sure. If you can get on Patreon and find any inconsistencies or, anything that's wrong, I want to know about it. I want you to point it out to me so I can look deeper into it and find out if I'm wrong. Now, so far, no one has. I've been able to answer everything. So, but, I'm open for debate. I don't, I'm looking for the truth. But so, if I thought this whole thing was real, I would want Trump to win. And I've said that before, and I'm saying it again because that's how I feel. If I thought this whole thing was real, because in my opinion, the only thing that really matters is the economy. Like I said in the other video, whenever they're complaining about Trump, it's all nonsense. It's, oh, he doesn't like this, or he's racist, or he thinks this way. It's never, he did this that screwed us up, or he did that screwed us up. He didn't do it. He was a pretty good president. I mean, the economy was booming. I was doing portraits at the time. I could go into Central Park whenever I felt like it and make a couple $100 with ease. I would have to turn customers away because some days I would do, some days I would make so much money doing the portraits, I didn't even fucking count the money. I would just put it in my pocket and be like, I'm done for the day. I don't even care. I can't do no more. I'm done. And I would have, people would get pissed at me because I'd be shutting down because I did too much fucking drawing that day. And I'd be like, look, just come back tomorrow, come back early, and I'll get you for sure. But I'm done for today. Like, the shit was, my portrait business in Central Park was like having an ATM that I could just go into Central Park whenever I felt like it, set up my sign in my spot where I was known, and I would kill it. People still to this day go to that spot looking for me. Now, I was giving people a good product for a good price. I would do a cute little cartoon drawing of them for $10. That's a good deal. So, and it would take me 5-10 minutes to do it, so I could make a lot of money doing it anyways. But that's when Trump was president. Then that whole 2020 thing happened. All of a sudden, I went from making a couple of $100 a day to a couple of bucks a day, literally. Thank God I had loyal customers on my Instagram. When they realized that I was strapped for cash, they were buying portraits off me for their pets and stuff, and I would mail it to them. Thank God for that, because that got me through that whole 2020 thing. But so, that's my theory. I think it's all fake. I think the reason they want you to vote is to get your consent, and it's, this way they can be corrupt right in your face, and it's not violating your free will. They're working against your best interests, but you chose them, so that's that. Now, do I think Trump will be as bad as Biden was? No, I don't think he will. Hopefully Trump wins because I believe his role, the part that he is here to play, is to ease up a little bit and make things better, just to make the people of America content to continue with this broken, corrupt, rigged system. So every couple of years, they got to throw someone in there who seemingly is working for your best interests. Otherwise, we would revolt. So they've got to keep the illusion up. And I think they want Trump to win, but who knows? I don't know everything. Yeah, let me tell you something. I've been trying to figure them out my whole life, and they always throw curveballs. They always do things that I did not see coming. So, you know, they're slick, man. They're very, very slick. Boy, I'll give them that much, man. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm impressed by a lot of the shit they pull. So, I don't know what's going to happen. But my guess is Trump's going to win because they need to ease up on the pressure a little bit. That's my guess. And hopefully I'm right, because I don't like spending $20 at the grocery store for iced tea, coffee, and olives. That should cost me like fucking $5-10. You know what I mean? So, anyways, I guess that's the end of this video. And if you want a response to your comment, try to get it within the first 30. I appreciate every single one of y'all. Thanks for the subs. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the tips. And thanks for the Patreons, especially. Appreciate y'all. And I guess I'll either see y'all here on Patreon. And good luck with the election. I'll be chilling right here. But if you're into it, don't let me stop you. You know what I mean? So, yeah. See you on the next one. Everybody have a good one.